shadows high on the darker side. Behind the doors, it's a wilder ride. You can make or break, you can win or lose. That's a chance you take when the heat's on you, when the heat is on. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from our Camp David, where we like to be a lot more now, because if the president doesn't have to president from the White House, then we don't have to podcast from our underground lair, but we are doing our part for Minnesota emissions here.
You mean the president doesn't go to waste our tax dollars at Camp David?
No, he just goes to Delaware every other day.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that's where he gets wined and dined by the credit card companies. Isn't that what happens when old Sleepy goes to Delaware?
I don't know if he does anymore. I mean, dinner would have to be like at 2:30.
Maybe he has nap time or something like that. I don't know, but he's probably less powerful now that he's not on the Senate Banking Committee anymore. I wonder who they're wining and dining to be the next state to do that. Now the song,
yes,
Jay, something I do when the winter comes.
Yeah,
the heat is on.
Yes,
and I know who sings it.
Do you?
Yeah, it's one of the guys from the Eagles, but I can't think of who. I don't think it's the Heenley guy. I think it's the other guy. The heat is on.
4 of them in the band.
Okay, well, I only know the Fry guy and the Heenley guy.
Well, then try the Fry guy.
Huh?
Try the Fry guy, then.
Is it the Fry guy?
Do you know his first name?
Yeah, it's Glenn.
Yes.
Glenn Fry.
That's it, yeah.
That is it.
That
okay,
is it.
all right.
Yeah. It wasn't Timothy B. Dalton or...
He did the books, right?
What? No.
Dalton?
That wasn't Dalton Books, no. And then, Joe Walsh.
No, he's in the Grateful Dead.
No.
Oh, he wasn't?
No, he was not in the
I can name them guys.
He was in the James Gang.
No, I can name the Grateful Dead.
I can't.
Jerry Garcia.
I know that one.
Mickey Hart. Okay,
I've heard of him.
David Grisham.
Never heard of him.
And then that one guy.
Bob Weir.
Okay, so there, I named them.
That's the only one. Him and Garcia are the two I know.
I only know from my Down in the Valley days when we sold the tie-dye T-shirts.
I've heard of Mickey Hart. Isn't that the guy from Jefferson Airplane?
No, he's the guy who used to be a manager in wrestling, wasn't it? Mickey Hart with the megaphone?
That was Jimmy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just remember he had a voice like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Maybe that. I got to say something about this Zelensky guy.
Yeah.
Is the guy really the president of Ukraine? Because he's more like an actor on TV.
Yeah, I mean, he did win the election, from what I understand.
Okay, because he's more like I see him more and more and more like, almost like he's a character. Like it's not real.
Well, he used to be an
actor,
I
know he used to be, but I mean, he's like my age. He's like our age. I mean, he's, or my age anyway. I don't know about you. So, I don't know. Oh, anyway. So I'm going to count that as the right answer.
That is the right answer.
Okay,
yes,
now, Jay,
yes.
I know I'm going to torture you.
And I'm going to get a bunch of wrong answers, aren't
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Because I'm going to widen the scope today for history lesson. Because we haven't done this for a while. We didn't do one in February.
And I cherished every day of it.
I know,
yes.
But I have to come back to torture you to do some in February and some in March. Now, I'm just going to do a handful here, like 4 or 5.
All right.
Well, that's usually what I always do. But we're going to stretch it out, February and March.
Okay.
Because we have to be extra. We have to have extra coverage.
All right.
It's like the Vikings: 13 guys, 16 guys on the field if they can get away with it. So we'll do that. Okay. How you doing, by the way? I mean,
pretty good. I guess, Anytime we get, I'll get to the reason after history lesson brings me down. I'm going to bring us back up with a little bit of community solutions news.
Oh my God!
You don't even know about this.
I mean, you have good news. We never share.
I do
good
have
news.
really good news. Yeah.
All right, Jay. I'm going to ask you the first question on history lesson.
Yes.
And it's in the world of entertainment.
Right up my alley.
Actually, I'll say this is in the world of television.
Not up my alley.
This one might be.
Okay.
This television event happened on February 8th, 1985.
Ooh. February 8th, 1985?
A huge event in my life and in yours on television.
That would have had to have been the debut of the Dukes of Hazzard?
Wow. Okay. You're completely wrong.
Yep.
But you're completely right.
It was the last episode.
The last episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay.
The show began January 13th, 1979.
Oh, yeah, I suppose
and
it
ended February 8th, 1980. I thought you might get that one if I kind of led you to water and you actually drank.
Well.
They put some cognac in the General Lee and revved it up one last time until all the return shows or reunion shows.
Right.
February 8th, 1985.
Wow.
Unbelievable, Jay. I'm glad you got that one because that was. By the way, do you have a favorite episode?
Oh, goodness. It definitely wasn't when the replacements were in.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
It wasn't that season.
I know so many fans of Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
And they all say the same thing. I don't know anybody that liked that. I don't know anybody who thought that was.
At the time, I did. Yeah.
Well, the one guy with the dark hair was okay.
Vance. Right?
But yeah,
Coy and
the
Vance.
other guy, he was just a fish out of water. I mean,
Coy and Vance.
He just did not belong there. I'm
No.
sorry, but the Vance guy was. I thought he had some talent, but the other guy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I don't know where they drug him up there from. You and I could have played the parts better.
Probably.
Maybe. I mean, So yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. And do you have anything that sticks out?
I don't know if I remember them by episode. I remember like little things here and there, whenever they would break out of jail or
Well, that was 3 times a show.
I
always
getting
liked
chased by the sheriff of Chickasaw.
Yeah,
County.
I was going to say Sheriff Little. I
Little.
always liked Sheriff Little. If he was on there, I always thought it was hilarious.
I know.
Episode where they were all going after them Duke boys, and Sheriff Little comes into Hazard, and Roscoe comes up to him and says, "Eugene, Little, don't pretend you don't hear me, blah, 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 blah." And he walks up and goes, "I got half a mind to arrest you right now." And Sheriff Little goes, "Coltrane, you don't got a quarter of a mind, no less half."
I remember that.
It's hilarious. I think an episode that sticks out is when they had Stonewall Jackson's sword. They were supposed to somehow Bo and Luke got conned into driving it somewhere or something, and then they ended up in the pokey for stealing it, and then I don't remember if it was Enos or Cletus or whoever, and Cooter all busted him out or something. I don't know. I just remember what I remember was not knowing who Stonewall Jackson was, and my dad explaining to me of course, now being a Civil War buff, I know all about him, but it was like, okay, so I got a history lesson literally and got to watch the Duke, so very cool.
That's very good.
All right. We're going to go to world events, Jay.
All right.
February 28th, 1991.
Ooh.
So I'm keeping it recent here.
Wow. Was that the start of Desert Storm?
Okay. Once again, you are right and you are wrong.
End of Desert Storm.
The end of Desert Storm. Totally, we did not prep this, by the way. The war actually started on January 12th, 1991. The ceasefire began on February 28th, 1991. I remember watching that intently because you had the Hulk Hogan Sergeant Slaughter match at WrestleMania 7.
Right.
But the war was over by the time the WrestleMania was March 24th. So it kind of made it anticlimactic by that.
Right.
But yes, as President Bush Sr. would say, Operation Desert Storm. And remember, before that, it was something else.
Right.
Shield, the Desert
Yes,
Shield,
Desert
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So yes, Kuwait liberated everyone. We lived through it.
Yeah.
We watched it.
I mean, I wondered because I was 17 at the time. I was going through school, I was 16, wasn't I? I wasn't 17 yet. But I was thinking about, okay, there's a war. This could last a while. If they decided to turn the draft back on, I'm going to be eligible.
Funny you say that, because I was 14 and thought the same thing, because you thought, well, what war ends in... I read about wars in history. They all lasted years.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that was going to take what was it, 7 weeks?
Right.
Nobody knew that. Thought that could... Of course, that did happen a decade or so later.
Right.
With 2 wars.
There's no draft, but...
Right, but I mean,
it was mostly peacekeeping operations or whatever after the main offensive, but...
Yeah, I mean,
that still lasted a while.
Yeah, a scary time. And, the Cold War was still going on then. It wouldn't last much longer. Of course, the Cold War, I guess, has been restarted now.
Yes, it has been.
All the negativity. Okay, now we're going to get a little more difficult.
Okay.
Because there's tremendous significance to this day in regards to somebody related to me very, very distantly.
Oh. Adolphus Richter III.
No, not the captain of the Mayflower.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna tell you the date.
Okay.
The date is this very red letter date, March 5th, 1849.
Okay. Well, this is a Zachary Taylor question.
It is.
Okay.
I know I've shared that I am like a cousin 39th removed from President Taylor.
Yes. But what did he do? He's not known for a whole lot, very widely, anyways.
You know what he's known for? Can I share one thing?
As long as it's not giving me the answer.
It's not giving you the answer.
Okay.
He never once in his life voted, including for himself.
Really?
He did not vote.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He was well known for not voting.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He ran for president and didn't vote for himself.
Wow. Well, I think that this probably had something to do with, let's see, I'm just trying to trace things back in my mind from the beginning of the Civil War, and then you had the Compromise of 1850 with that loser Miller Fillmore, and then you had, before that, it was kind of the beginning of the end of the Whig Party.
It kind of was, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
Millard Fillmore, Chris Taylor's vice president.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Became the accidental president. Well.
Okay.
Yes.
Small hint time.
Okay.
Think of the date March 5th.
Yes.
And what that would mean at that time in American history.
March 5th, at that time in American history. Goodness, I don't know.
All right, Jay, I'm going to give you a 10 count.
Yeah? Is that how this goes now? We're going to go to beat the buzzer?
Well, it's riveting radio when you're thinking.
I know.
Well, we have to give lessons, history lessons.
We do. And so let's just kind of throw this out there that this is the day that Zachary Taylor was inaugurated.
Okay. That's true. Yes. But there's something more significant about the date.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I get half a point?
I'm going to give you half a point again because that's true. But at this time, the inauguration day was March 4th.
Yes.
Before the 20th Amendment. That was on a Sunday. President Taylor refused to take the oath of office on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So he took it the next day at noon. So for one day, the president of the Senate, David Atchison, was known as the acting president.
Wow.
For 24 hours. President Polk, Vice President Dallas, I'm not sure if they even attended, but they relinquished their duties that day in America for one day. Back then, the secession was different.
Right.
So it went to the president of the Senate, then down the cabinet. Now it goes to the speaker. But
right.
So for one day, we had an acting president, the president pro temp of the Senate.
Wow.
So, and historians still have not quite given that a title, but but for 24 hours, we just imagine that happening now. That the president doesn't take the oath, and for a day that happens, it's just incredible. I mean,
right.
Okay.
I mean, we have had other acting presidents throughout history.
Well,
when Reagan was shot, when Bush had a colonoscopy.
That's right. Dick Cheney was president 2 different occasions for 4 hours or something like that.
Right.
I'll say this too. There have been other occasions. President Wilson, when he had his stroke, there's
and then his wife was really the president after that.
Yeah, and the cabinet kind of carried out the daily administrative duties. I mean, that could never happen today. I mean, that would never happen. President Cleveland, who had, I don't know this, he had an operation in secret. They found he used to smoke cigars and chew tobacco, and they found he actually smoked a cigar right before his operation. And
why not? Last time
they had to remove something on the roof of his mouth. They had to remove and replace it. He did it on a ship, and the operation was detailed after Cleveland's death. But so for a while, nobody knew about it, and so Congress didn't know, the vice president didn't know, and he was sedated on a ship called the Oneida. So I mean, I think it's happened quite a few. There's an attempt on President Jackson,
right?
And President Jackson was quite hurt. He wasn't shot, but he was like tackled by somebody so that he didn't get hit. And so, of course, Jackson tried to get up and go after the guy. No surprise, but I mean, we've had instances where a president's sort of been down and out. All right.
Yeah.
2 more quick ones. In the realm of, I can't say, well, I'll just say in the realm of technology.
Okay.
March 21st, 2006, a significant event happened that day.
What was the date again?
March 21st, 2006.
Okay. The realm of technology. Is that the day that, let me think back here. Is that the day Facebook went public? Or was created? Or...
Okay, Jay, I'm going to give you like a 1/6 of a point.
Okay.
It was the day Twitter was created.
Oh.
You were on the right track. See, I was going to say social media, and I thought that was too easy.
2006 is a little early.
Well,
or a little late for Facebook.
Facebook, I believe, was 2003 or 4.
Yeah.
But, of course, Twitter was created in 2006. It really wasn't popular for...
Yeah, and that's why I said is that the day it went public, because I was pretty sure it had been created before that.
Yeah, I mean, it was... it was, created...
Huh.
So it's 16 years now it's been around. I mean, kind of hard to believe it's been that long.
Ruining everybody's life for 16 years.
Pretty much. I mean, it's kind of...
Yeah.
You send a tweet, it's out there forever. Okay, we'll go with one more, and this one again is in our lifetime.
Okay.
March 28th, 1979.
Ooh.
This was kind of a disaster that happened on that day.
Yeah? Was that the Iranian
That
crisis?
was in November.
That was in November, okay.
Now that's what my mind would have went to. It's
right
okay.
year, though. That's pretty
Jimmy
good
Carter,
for me.
1979. Yeah. You know it's bad when Carter was president. It wasn't anything good, and this isn't either.
Right. Was it the beginning of the oil crisis?
That was...
Don't remember that.
You're in the... I can't give you a hint on this one because it'll give it away.
Right. Peanut shortage, and Carter was having a freak out.
Carter might have been able to fix that. He didn't fix anything else, but he might have fixed that. It's possible. I would have trusted him with finding peanuts, but nothing else.
Even a blind squirrel.
Yeah,
him
in Habitat for Humanity could have built a shed or something. I'd have let him do that, but be president. Oh, God. See, now that's the great thing. I was born in 1977, but like I'm always fond of saying,
yes,
Gerald Ford was still president. Because I was born January 10th. Carter took the oath on the 20th.
Right.
So technically, I've lived through what, 9 presidents now or 10?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought of myself as Ford, but when I really did the math, I guess technically I was born when Nixon was president.
Yeah, because Ford was August of 74.
Yeah. Yep. So not by much, but
well, like I said, Reagan's the first president I remember. I don't remember
me too.
Carter, so.
I don't remember him either. I wasn't paying attention to that. Oh goodness. Okay, so March of 79, March 28th of 79. A big deal. Yeah, I don't know. Beginning of the gas. Oh no, that I already said that. That was 73.
You'll know it when I say it.
I'm sure that I will.
That was the day of the big leak at 3 Mile Island.
Oh,
the nuclear plant. That.
Yeah.
You got to go back, by the way, and watch the Saturday Night Live skit on this with Dan Aykroyd playing Jimmy Carter. You have to go. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Go back and watch. It's a little long, but it was very funny where he like explodes in size from cleaning up nuclear waste or something like that. You have to watch it. So, that was the leak at 3 Mile Island, folks. We did a mini Chernobyl, or whatever you want to say. But those Carter years, man. I mean, stagflation.
Gotta love it.
So they don't even get that in Cuba.
Yes.
But we had it here. I'll tell you what, though.
Yes.
Something worrying me before we get to our topic here.
Yes.
Jay, you've brought up the currency issue before.
Yes.
And I don't want to get into it too much. But I cannot fathom how much power a handful of banks, the Federal Reserve, and executively the President of the United States have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like 7 people can control everything in this country money-wise.
Yep.
The heads of the big banks, we all know them because they all got bailed out while the small banks got eaten or...
Right. Technically, we don't know who's in the Federal Reserve, which banks are part of the Federal Reserve, but then again, we do. We know what the biggest 7 banks are.
Right, but you also know the FDIC, who backs all of them. I mean, it's all the major ones. Bank of Amigo, Chase Manhattan, Wells Fargo.
Bank of New York.
Right. I mean, we all know the main ones. And then the Federal Reserve, which has kept emergency powers now for 14 years to print money.
Yep.
And, I mean, they just continue and continue and continue to do it. And then the President of the United States, I don't know if he's not smart enough to understand the value of the dollar around the world and how it's being undermined. He's aiding and abetting the undermining.
Right.
God, just a moron.
Well, I think they think they know what they're doing. That's the problem. They're going to print and print and print and print, and then they're just going to get rid of all their debt because there was we won't get into all the details here. The president put out an executive order.
Of course he did.
Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, because right now they have no control over it. And then secondly...
And of course they have to have control.
Right. Absolutely. Got to have control. And secondly, they are fast-tracking a process to come up with a plan, and they have 6 months now, supposedly, to come up with this plan on how to institute the digital dollar. That's going to spell disaster for everybody. Anytime, I mean, and you're a history buff, so this isn't just me spouting conspiracy theories. Tell everybody about the last time we switched currencies in the United States. What happened?
Well, the Great Depression, for one.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Yeah, we got off the gold standard.
Right. And everybody lost tons of value, didn't they?
Yes, I mean, and we nearly did it under the silver craze in the 1890s. We nearly did it then.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the first bank and the second bank, the first, not the one Jackson killed, but the first bank, which had been born out of the Revolutionary War.
Right, Hamilton's bank.
Right. Every time we've gone through this cycle, we go through this cycle, and then we go through the second cycle, And the second bank in particular really was controlled by a handful of, it kind of acted like a Fed in some ways, except the federal government had more control over
Right.
it. It was not a separate, and Federal Reserve is not part of our federal government.
Right.
You know, where the first and second, the Hamilton's Bank and the second bank, Nicholas Biddle was the head of the second bank. They had more direct control over there for a long, long time in this country.
Yeah.
Without the major currency problems that we have today, and then we've had ever since the Fed, because when the Fed prints money, okay, it's there for the government to borrow and spend. I mean, that's the primary function of it, or it's for their banks to lend. It goes one of two places.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere else. So, you have the government combined with a handful of big banks, okay, that have the power to control everything. I mean, everything can be controlled. Everything, public and private, will almost goes through all them already.
Right. Well, and this is the thing. I mean, you're exactly right. And some of these, we have 20 states right now where the legislatures of the states are coming up with anti-ESG bills.
Yeah.
And they're starting to pass. Now,
Let me guess, it's not New York, it's not California, it's not Oregon,
Nope.
it's not Illinois,
it's Texas, it's
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
Florida, it's South Carolina, it's Missouri, we know the
Idaho.
states.
Idaho is having a hard time getting it through because these banks and some of these companies are putting pressure on the legislatures of Idaho to not put this in. So you have some
Well, I can
Republicans
understand why, though, because they're under pressure too. You got to remember the banks are under
Right.
pressure as well.
Right. Well, the big banks are the ones that are putting this in. They're the ones who are saying, we're not going to loan money to you.
Yes,
you know,
because
and we're-
because they know their credit line is going to get cut off if they do.
well, and yeah, it's possible.
I mean, these are global banks. They don't
right.
know boundaries. They don't know anything
Right.
like that. They make their own rules.
Yep, absolutely. And so these bills are to go after the banks specifically, and if they are using ESG scores to keep people if they discriminate against businesses and individuals by using ESG scores to keep people from fairly getting money the way that other groups would get money,
Right, by credit
Yep.
score, by
they will lose their ability to do business in those states. A lot of them, the way that these are being written. There's some variations, and some of them are actually starting to look at some of the other parts of it, not just the economic part, the E. They're also starting to look at some of the social and the governmental parts of it as well. And we really need to have a full scope of that because it's not just businesses. It's people that are affected by this as well. But anyways, so the Hamilton Project, which is part of the Brookings Institute,
Yeah.
which is left-leaning think tank. Clintons have their people all throughout Brookings
it used to be
Institute
a
and the
little more
Hamilton Project.
used to be a little more down the line until the Clintonistas took it over in the 90s.
Right. So the Hamilton Project is the one tasked with coming up with this plan to bring in the digital currency. Well, the digital currency it's bad news because they're going to be able to know exactly how every dollar is spent, where every dollar comes from. You're not going to be able to carry greenbacks around and just,
So how do I get tips at work?
You're not going to unless it's electronic.
Screw you, government. Come after me.
Oh, boy.
Get my foot in your mouth.
Oh, boy.
Now, let me back up a second because I know
Yes.
we're not conspiracy theorists.
No,
here.
we're not.
But how realistic is this going to happen? And see, I think this is a way down the line thing. I just think that I don't think the technology's there to do this. I think that they are plotting for an incremental switch to this because you got to remember, American people don't like big change. They may say they do, but they don't.
They don't, but here's the difference. Democrats know that they are losing in 2024, barring anything. So I don't know, they at least before the next presidential election and somebody like a Trump comes back in, they're definitely going to want to have this online, maybe sooner, maybe even the next election. I don't know. Because at that point, they're going to lose their ability to be able to push this stuff for a little while. Depending on some of those Republicans like Mitt Romney.
Well, but I mean,
Lisa
but there's,
Murkowski. Yeah.
But I mean, there's other banks. There's state banks. There's
that's why we need to be in the local banks, because they don't have these ties to. You have to find one that actually isn't tied to a bigger bank, isn't doing anything with.
It's not
ESG.
easy.
No,
it's not easy because they're all being bought out. Look at TCF.
Yeah,
just bought out by Huntington. It's very hard to find a bank. You got to find a credit union, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that. But even they're not small anymore.
No,
I mean they used to be little branches, and people like using their cash machines everywhere. They don't like paying fees and stuff. It's hard to. I think it is hard to do that. So. I think it's getting harder and harder to avoid the big banks.
Right. Well, I mean, if this happens, and they're pushing for it because China is also pushing for it, there's a race to have the first digital currency because everybody in the world wants to unseat the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency. And so that's why the race.
That's nothing new, though. I mean, they've been trying to do that. European Union's been trying to do that since the 70s. I mean, they haven't been around that long, but part of the reason I think they got the euro is to compete with the dollar. If they band together, rather than have 20 currencies over there.
Well, and Saudi Arabia is already discussing with China the possibility of doing business with China in yuan instead of the dollar. So,
well, it wouldn't. I mean, China's a bigger customer now in some respects. I mean, it can happen. I don't know. We have been so slow to recognize China as our number one enemy.
Yep.
I mean, even with the Russian invasion, which
it's not Russia, it's China.
It has never been Russia. Who do you think's funding Russia?
Well, I mean, it was at one time. It was Russia,
yeah, but I mean, for the last 20 to 30 years, we've helped China. We've helped China be a rival by bad trade deals.
Absolutely,
by
letting them steal from us.
Yeah, I mean, how many things are made in China?
All of them?
I mean, exactly.
All the things are made in China. Yeah.
And who can call in our debt? The Chinese could cripple us they're just too busy laughing, getting all of our money. I mean, they don't have to. But they go to digital currency. I mean, they can call in anything at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping my greenbacks, though.
Yeah.
They'll be worth a lot of digital dollars someday.
No.
Keep your gold and silver. That'd be another thing to do.
Well, absolutely.
Keep that stuff.
Get a hold of that. So. So. Should I give you my little bit of good news here?
Oh yeah,
you like this?
News. We never have good news.
All right. So, got an email today from somebody that listens to our podcasts.
Does this person know that they're being talked about on the air?
No, and I don't care.
Oh, okay.
Because this person's working for YouTube. So,
okay. What did you copyright infringe?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did not. In fact, here's what it says. Hi, Community Solutions MN. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube. So they've removed one of our podcasts from YouTube.
That's good news.
That is good news. And I'll share the name of the podcast in just a moment. We know that you think this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we've made a mistake, you can appeal, and we'll take another look. Keep on reading for more details. How your content violated the policy. YouTube doesn't allow claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or the World Health Organization. And then it gave me a link where I could kindly learn more about it. Isn't that nice? So,
okay, now I have a little story.
The name of the podcast
that
got removed from YouTube. The Price of Free Speech.
Now, what episode was that?
Ponder that for
Was
a
that
while.
just recently?
I'm going to have to look that up because I don't know off the top of my head. But, I mean, you got to admit, that's pretty good.
Okay, I have a similar story.
You do? Okay.
Spotify, on
Yes.
my show,
Yes.
has put 2 disclaimers on podcasts that I did.
Really?
My episode with Kevin Roche
Yeah.
and my first episode with Ann Bauer.
Really?
They put, when you click on them, they have a link to where it says learn more about COVID-19. They have these disclaimers.
You know, I haven't looked on Spotify. I wonder if we have those disclaimers as well on our show. It would make sense that that's probably the
We do
case.
not. The Price of Free Speech was episode 241.
Oh, you got it there. Okay.
Yeah, this is the one we did about Joe Rogan and the Trusted News Initiative.
Well, we didn't. I don't know if we made any claims other than that Joe Rogan should have the ability to. Well, if we say it here, this one's going to get canceled too. So I.
That's just unbelievable. Screw you, YouTube. Up yours.
Oh, so that's my good news.
You would consider that good news.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know our popularity is growing every day, but Jesus, I mean,
That we
I want to know who listened to it. That's what I want to know. Who listened to it?
that we got an episode called "The Price of Free Speech" canceled off of YouTube makes me happy.
I'm going to have to tweet or Facebook about that.
Yeah.
God, here I thought we, won the Powerball or
We
something.
kind of
and
did.
Yeah.
We kind of did.
Whatever you say, Jay, whatever you
We
say.
kind of did. I'll
Well-
make sure you have a copy of that in case you want to put it up for the world to see.
I'd like to respond. I mean, I'd like somebody to explain. I mean, don't they owe us an explanation as to,
Oh yeah, you can appeal. I'm sure it's that they win appeals all the time. Like maybe
appeal
never.
to who?
I don't know.
That's like the commissioner of football or something suspends somebody, then they can have an appeal, and he judges the appeal.
Yes.
No, the price of free speech is still out there. I'm trying to read the. Well, when I read the whole description, I don't see anything about COVID vaccines in here.
No.
And I don't even recall what we said. What did we say?
I don't remember. It was that consequential that I don't even remember us necessarily discussing anything about that. But I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah. But we made the big time.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
All right. Jay, the news isn't going to get better.
I know.
What is it with this? What is it with this? We're such downers now. I mean, it just all we report. I mean, I know it's our job here, but man, we got to do some more uplifting stuff here because I'm getting suicidal with the stuff that we're talking about.
The world's not really getting better, is it?
It's just you'd think it'd get gooder, and it's never going to get the goodest again. But this environmental crap, I'll tell you what. Let me just say something about environmentalists just to start with. Actually, Jay, you introduce the topic, then I'll say something.
I really have to. Okay.
You really have to, because I can't.
You can't.
I literally can't.
Okay.
The words can't come out of my mouth, I'm telling you.
All right. So, we're talking the environment today.
Boo.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I want dirty water.
Our illustrious governor has called for
Another boo.
100% carbon-free electricity by 2040.
Okay, can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
If the environment is such a catastrophe that we're all going to boil to death, Why is it they always do things 20, 30, 40 years down the road?
Yeah, I don't know.
And why is it nothing we do works? Think of all the things we do now, how environmentally conscious we are.
Yeah.
And yet nothing seems to work. Could it be that Mother Nature's just bigger than we are?
You know, that's exactly it. The climate has gotten warmer and colder for as long as the planet has existed. It has gone through cycles. That's a historical fact. And it's just crazy to me that we're in a place now where we're so close to being extinct as a human race because we're riding the line so close. We got to do it.
Had like 50 years ago, and we have
cleaner
extinct
water and air than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, go tell China to quit polluting. They're the world's biggest polluter.
We're cleaner than Germany.
That doesn't surprise me. Those Germans. I'll tell you what, though. This is what drives me nuts about. Look, I'm for being a good steward of the environment. I mean, I'm for recycling. I'm for. I am an outdoorsy guy. I know you are too.
Absolutely.
I believe in clean water and clean air. What I don't believe is this nut job stuff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I grew up. Okay, I mean, you and I grew up in the same era here. And I grew up with all of these people. I remember in the 80s, I can remember being told, and I wasn't necessarily told this at school. I don't remember being indoctrinated. Especially now when I look back on it, maybe a little bit. You know, I think they more taught us to be environmentally conscious, but I don't recall anybody using scare tactics or.
Well, I mean, do you remember the commercial with the Indian that was crying? You know, because there was like broken glass and
No, I don't.
No, you don't remember.
I only remember the Bob Uecker Miller Lite commercials. I don't remember nothing else like that.
There was like that? Litter or trash or something at like the side of a river, and then he was like tearing up.
I don't.
I mean, it's.
And if Wahoo McDaniel would have been in a commercial, I'd have remembered that.
Harmless compared to today.
Well, yeah, but again, I mean, was that like a public service thing?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, don't litter. I get it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with. I don't think people should litter.
Right.
You know, I've participated in roadside cleanups, Jay.
Me too.
You don't want to know what people throw out there. From dirty diapers to used condoms to socks to dirty underwear to,
hypodermic needles.
Yeah. Half-eaten cheeseburger. You don't want to know what people throw somewhere. And I think that sucks. I think they're terrible for doing that. So we have a trash bin for.
Yeah.
That's what the garbage man comes to get. I mean, there's just... there's no excuse for that behavior. But this whack job stuff, let me tell you something. So I grew up hearing, things like, the hairspray you're putting in your hair is destroying the ozone layer.
Oh, I know.
We're all going to get skin cancer. I heard the San Andreas Fault is going to blow up and California is going to drift off in the Pacific Ocean, which I wish would have happened.
Still waiting for that.
Yeah, but we're going to run out of oil by the year 2000, so we better plan and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, none of these things are true. None of these things these people say is true. And yet we still act as though there is. We still act as though we're all going to boil to death if we just continue living our lives.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I keep thinking, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I keep thinking at some point there's going to be a backlash against these people. Like it's growing, the climate skepticism. As much as they try to shut out those people, try to kick them off platforms.
Yeah.
I so feel like, fortunately, corporate America, utility companies, banks, which we just mentioned, and government are all sort of on the same page. Now, they all sort of don't care what we really think. These people are, they're insulated from election results, a lot of them. And they're determined to push a I would argue, crony capitalism in many ways too.
Absolutely.
Trying to force us to, go back to the days of the horse and buggy. And I'll tell you, before we start talking about what Walz is doing, locally is where this is really going to be felt.
Yeah.
It's all going to be felt locally.
Yes.
And we'll get into that in a minute. But this, how do we get off this by 2040? How the hell does that happen? How do you get, quote, carbon free?
It's a scam for one. It's not about being carbon free, because there's no way we're going to be carbon free. Even when we're all driving electric cars, those electric cars are charged up by coal-fired power plants.
Okay, but isn't part of the plan to get rid of those, not make any more of them?
Yeah. We're not going to make any more. Unfortunately, we're not going to make nuclear plants either.
Nuclear is 100% carbon free.
Absolutely it is. That is the cleanest kind of energy there is. So it's, we're never going to have enough room and enough windmills or hydroelectric dams. Not ever going to happen. Never going to have enough room for the solar farms and everything else. It's just not going to happen.
How many windmills would it take to power up Chicago? I'm just kind of curious. How many would that take? Where would we put them?
Right.
Can somebody tell me where they would go?
And let me tell you, Illinois has a ton of wind farms.
Yeah, but
already.
I'm not against those. This is where I throw a caveat in there. If you want to buy an electric car, you go right ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that.
I'd like to drive more than 4 hours before I have to stop for a few,
I know a couple of people who own a hybrid, and they swear by it. They just think it's a great car. There's not necessarily an environmental agenda, but, the Escalade or whatever, I don't remember what the old one was, but, they think it's a great car. So, okay, fine. I don't care. You want to buy that? Buy it.
Yeah.
But what I object to is this. First off, use tax credits is one of the worst ideas you could possibly put on any industry. Because it kills innovation. It kills any attempt to lower the price. Think of it this way. When Henry Ford created the assembly line, why did he do it? He did it because he couldn't sell the cars. His employees were making something they couldn't buy.
Right.
And the goal was, we got to make this cheap enough to where because if only the rich can have it, I only have 2% of the population to sell it to.
Yep.
However, think of this. Think if the government would have come along. Of course, Henry Ford didn't run to the government with his hands out.
No,
it's innovation. It's new ideas. It's get our managers together and let's have a discussion. Think if he would have went to the government with a lobbyist and a lawyer.
Right.
And said, I want free money. Give me tax credits so that so-and-so can afford it. So we'll put it on the taxpayer then. Now, Ford would have no incentive to change what he was doing, no incentive to make his car cheaper, no incentive to make his car better.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons why solar and some of these technologies have not advanced very far. Because they don't need to.
Right.
Because there are so many complications to the tax system. Look at Walmart.
Yeah.
They've gone solar a lot. Guess what? You and I are paying for it.
Absolutely we are.
Now, you tell me why is it that liberals complain about corporate welfare unless it's an idea they like? Then it's okay. If that were an oil company, they'd be whining and bitching.
Right.
And I'll tell you, these environments, they're worse than ex-wives. They're just nothing satisfies them. Nothing we do makes them happy. We can cut emissions, we can have cleaner water, and they're still doomsdaying.
Yeah.
I read articles. Okay, and I'm gonna point to NPR News, January 25th, 2021. So we're going back a couple months. I'm gonna skip down to some babe from the Sierra Club. Jessica Trichich? Whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, let me back up a second.
Yeah.
The state's largest utility, Xcel Energy, It's pledged to go carbon-free by 2050, in part by closing its coal-fired power plant in Becker, Minnesota, probably the largest employer in the whole area,
Probably.
by 2030. Jessica Trichich from the Sierra Club's North Star chapter called those efforts positive steps, but not enough. It's not enough.
Never enough.
Of course it's not enough.
Can't close it down fast enough. It should be closed off today.
The timeline is not what scientists say is necessary to avoid the worst impacts of the climate crisis. Screw you! This giant company is going to completely redo how they've been doing energy.
Yeah. And that's going to make our costs for energy skyrocket because they've got to pay for all this new technology, building new plants, and training in their employees on how to work the new equipment.
Hiring new ones.
And that is all going to trickle down to the consumers of energy.
But, of course, it's not good. Well, let me ask you, Jessica Trichich, what would be good enough? What, if we never turned a light bulb on again? Would you stop bitching then? No, you'd be off on something, whining about hairspray, whining about hurricanes. I mean, it would never stop. You're never going to satisfy these dunderheads.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why does NPR go to these people? How about you go to a consumer who watches their electricity bill double or triple, or a business that has no control over this? They just get the bill for all of it. NPR couldn't care less about them.
Right.
A report. First off,
yes.
Governor Walz is pushing for a goal for Minnesota to produce 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. A decade earlier than previously hoped. It's a crisis.
Yes.
So he's got his crisis. A report recently released by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, oh, wow, whoop-de-doo, said the state is not on track to meet its goals to cut overall greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by 2025 and 80% by 2050 from 2005 levels. Hey, I got an idea. How about we cut spending to 2005 levels?
I'd like that, or that's a start.
Yeah, that's not good enough. It's a much bigger crisis.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good starting point. I need to do much more than that.
Walz had outlined a plan to, by the way, this is not mandates now. See, and again, here's the other thing. We talk about this being voluntary. Okay, if an energy company that has a monopoly is doing something, it is not voluntary.
Right.
Xcel Energy is a monopoly.
Yes.
Okay, so unless you have a private generator, and even then, because new generators, I'm sure, will be regulated with every green freaking thing that they can put on them.
Absolutely. I mean, they're not going to be able to burn gas pretty soon, so I don't know how they're going to run. All the new ones, I mean, if you're getting rid of gas, you want to get to zero emissions, which I never finished my point on that. I guess I should. Is that, okay, zero emissions isn't about not burning fuel, because we can't ever fully get rid of burning fuel in the short term, but it's a scam because you have these offsets and you can buy more offsets.
Yeah, that's the carbon credits.
Right, the carbon credits. You can buy more, so it's a scam just to get.
So if you want to pollute, you can just go ahead and if you want to warm the earth, you can pay the government, and then the government's okay with it.
Right.
Yeah. So as long as you pay, the government's fine with that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. So I needed to say that because we didn't finish that earlier. But yeah, scam.
What a frickin' scam! What a bunch of jackasses. Now, Jay, we should say something here about this.
Yes.
Now, that one of the big problems with this, okay, one of the big issues is how this is going to get done. I mean, you may say right now, well, Walz can say what he wants to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he can spout off and we don't meet the goals. What's he going to do about it? Well, let me tell you what's going to happen. It's all going to be enforced locally.
Yes.
Locally is where it will get enforced. They might say, how? How does it get enforced? Well, I'll tell you. Who controls building permits, Jay?
Well, the local government does.
Who controls licenses?
The local government does.
And on top of it, who loans the money? Now, this is not local government, but
Local banks.
it's the local banks. Now, if they're all in cahoots, because remember, banks can, on point of sale,
Yeah.
require things. Government can refuse to hand out permits, refuse to hand out business licenses,
Yep.
refuse to renew them.
Yep.
And this is how they're going to force everybody to comply.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the woke corporations
Yep.
who will force everybody to comply also.
Right.
So this is what's going to slowly happen. Then the comprehensive plan comes. And what happens? We want to create walkable communities where everybody can hopscotch from one end of the mixed housing unit development to the other, and nobody needs to drive anywhere. And we can make sure somebody can get around with their electric hover round or scooter store, or a fat person can roll down the street, whatever. And we're going to create those compact, livable, sustainable downtowns or whatever. I mean, you're going to see, because we have a goal as a state
Yes.
to get rid of carbon emissions by the year 2179. So we have to comply. We have to
Right.
get on board.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, the Minnesota government, or maybe just Walz now, is saying by 2040 we have to be at net zero emissions. That's going to
For
cause
electricity.
A lot of, okay, yeah, for electricity.
But they're going to push it for
But-
everything else.
yeah.
I mean,
They want all the cities are all of the cities. A lot of cities are set up with these climate action plans, and a lot of them, it says by 2050, they're committed to reducing 80% of greenhouse gases. I mean, those were the old goals.
right. But that's not good enough.
No, that's not good enough.
It's too much of a crisis.
Even Minneapolis isn't good enough for
No.
for the
Still
progressive
not
left.
good enough.
Yes. So that's a lot of these cities have these climate action plans. Minneapolis and St. Paul aren't the only ones, and we've found many cities throughout the state that have these climate action plans. Of course, St. Louis Park has one, right?
Well, now, and let me tell you, this is
yes.
bipartisan.
Grand
This
Marais has one.
is bipartisan because this is
Yeah.
there something on the governor's website here, mn.gov, which is also under this
Yeah.
2040 thing where Walz is a bunch of people. He always puts plans out there, then quotes a bunch of people praising him,
Yeah.
which is what dictators love to do,
right.
to create that cult of personality. But listen under this. Carbon reduction goals for existing buildings. This is again where you're going to see the local impact. This proposal would set a state goal of cutting greenhouse gases from existing buildings by 50% by 2035. From existing buildings. Meaning all these buildings are going to have to be, retrofitted?
Yeah.
New heaters, new air conditioning units,
Seals.
UMVACs, the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
These policies build on the success of Minnesota's Next Generation Energy Act, passed in 2007 and signed into law by Governor Tim Pawlenty. The law requires utilities to get 25% of electricity from renewable energy by 2025. Now, an executive department that can't really enforce it.
Right.
Okay, but that's law. And
Yeah.
that was passed by huge majorities in both houses. There was a Republican House, there was a Democratic Senate at the time, and Governor Pawlenty.
Yes. Thanks, Governor Pawlenty.
Yeah, I mean, but from what I understand, this law would have passed over his signature or over his veto.
Huh.
So Minnesota has already achieved that standard by the end of 2017, but of course that's not good enough.
Right.
We have to make it 50% now. So, and remember, this is by 2005 energy standards. Well, we've grown a little since 2005, haven't we?
A little bit.
I mean, not a ton, but, there's... How many more people do you think are admitted? A few 100,000 more? They're all going to create more energy, aren't they?
Yeah.
So somehow we're going to have to create more energy at the same time use less.
Right.
I mean,
Well, I mean, and that's it, too. I mean,
how does a growing state like Texas ever comply with any type of thing?
I don't think Texas cares.
I don't think Texas cares either, but let's play out a hypothetical here because local governments can pass this stuff in a state like Texas.
Yeah.
I bet if we looked up Houston, if we looked up Austin,
Maybe Dallas.
Possibly, you could find, I guarantee Houston and Austin have these types of things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Texas might be the biggest growing state we've ever had in this country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, yes, you're right. On a state level, I'm sure they're not doing this crap. But on a local level, I bet they are.
I bet they are. Counties maybe are driving it or
Possibly.
whatever. Because even in Texas, you have a lot of local governments that are not conservative.
Well, and even the conservative ones
don't know any better.
It doesn't always matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Well, I mean, I argue they're not truly conservative. They might be Republican, but they're not conservative if they're not putting in policies that fight this stuff. But it is happening everywhere. I mean, I had mentioned Grand Marais. I think most people in the state know where Grand Marais is. If you don't, it's up the North Shore. Not quite to the Canadian border.
Not quite Grand Portage.
Not quite Grand Portage, but it's not a big city by any means. They have Sven and Ole's Pizza and stuff like that. But I mean, they put out a climate action plan, and they want to be able to. Where did I read here? In 2016, a local youth organization identified that the city of Grand Marais lacked action against the threats of climate change. So now we have politicians that are taking their cues from youth organizations.
Well, why not? They could pick their own gender. Why can't they?
Last time I checked, they still had a science teacher because they didn't know science. Right?
If they can pick their own gender, they can certainly affect the climate. Maybe they're identifying as a scientist today.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So, I don't know. They got a summary and an action plan, and they want to be completely carbon neutral by 2040.
Okay, so what's carbon neutral versus carbon free?
Carbon neutral is where, with the carbon credit program, where...
Oh, so it's where you can buy to pollute.
You can buy, or if you purchase solar panels, but yet you're polluting a little bit over here, they equal each other out.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's scam.
So I can pollute a little bit if I comply a little bit.
Right.
Now, how do you make an entire city carbon free?
Well, when you have how many people living in Grand Marais?
Well, I doubt they're all on board with. I mean,
well, I just mean I don't think there's a whole lot of carbon going up. You know what I mean? But it's the same things. Retrofit city-owned buildings to be near zero net energy. Replace street lights with smart LED technology. Energy benchmarking and disclosure for public buildings. We talked about benchmarking on an episode before, where cities like St. Louis Park were working with the Energy Star to keep track of benchmarking the various commercial buildings in their city. Develop a citywide compost collection facility. Expand citywide recycling program. Citywide zero waste plan. Commercial residential audit and weatherization team, funding for LED replacement, require energy benchmarking and disclosure for commercial buildings, so they're going to require it as well. They're part of this plan. Explore energy codes for new and existing buildings, implement a lighting system, upgrade laws, heating appliance efficiency codes, education and so you got to get rid of your old appliances, in other words. Education and outreach about commercial residential efficiency programs, climate action portal, Implement commercial and residential audit and weatherization program. 3 more here. Promote energy benchmarking and disclosure for residential buildings. Oh, so they are going to promote energy benchmarking and disclosure for homes.
Yeah.
And
sure.
apartment buildings. Huh. So you're going to have to keep track of it and supply it to the local government as well.
You have to, or they can pull your permits.
Yeah. Aid group purchasing program of commonly used items and structure utility rates to value imminent uptake of energy efficiency.
Okay, here's what's funny.
Yes.
The League of Minnesota Cities has a whole page on climate action.
That's not funny.
You just mentioned St. Louis Park. In 2018, they were the first city to adopt a climate action plan after a local high school group approached the city with the idea.
What is this with youth groups and high school groups telling cities what to do about science that they don't understand, and the cities listen? I mean, this is 2 in a row now where we've found this.
Yes, we have a gooder future is what they push. It's not only large metro cities that are adopting climate action plans, but communities like Grand Marais and Le Croissant have plans to reduce carbon emissions by taking actions like retrofitting aging properties. How do you promote solar? It says promoting solar. What does that mean? You walk with a megaphone and promote solar?
Hey, everybody. Get solar panels on your buildings. Get them now.
And of course, by creating more walkable, bikeable streets.
Because
I'm guessing up in Grand Marais from, say, October to April, there's not too many bikeable streets up there.
Probably not. Not too many walkers either.
You got a population of 1,300.
Yes, I just saw that.
I mean, come on.
1,300.
I think that's kind of high. I don't think there's that many, personally.
But they're all in on the climate action.
Around 20 cities have climate action plans or are working on them, including Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, Richfield, Golden Valley, Bloomington, Minnetonka, Northfield, Winona Ryder, and Red Wing. Cities have generally sought the expertise of a consultant from organizations like the Great Plains Institute, the Center for Energy and Environment, and the Pale Blue Dot to assist in writing. So not only that, but they've used that tax dollars to go out and hire, quote, experts or consultants who already have a pre-written thing. These people do this for a living, trying to force it on everybody. Yeah. Now they are consultants. It's not enough to create a walkable area. We got to pay somebody to show us how to create a walkable area.
Right.
Do they do that when they make a comprehensive plan?
Well, your guess is as good as mine on that.
So all of our good places there to.
Well, and as we know, I mean, it's not just good enough to have a plan that includes walkability and bikeability for the sake of that. We all know that climate action has to take racial equity into account too, because the environment is racist as well. I mean, it's systemically built into everything. And if you think I'm kidding, you can go out to the MinneapolisFoundation.org and see their document on climate action and racial equity fund.
No, I don't like them.
This fund supports local action on climate change in diverse Minneapolis communities. So, yeah, because we all know that the weather is racist. I mean, we're offering grants for place-based, we've used that, right, placemaking, community-driven initiatives, projects, and organizations. This fund strives for a demonstrable reduction in local greenhouse gas emissions. So it's, you see how they tie it all together? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Unfortunately.
What's that?
Unfortunately, I do.
They tie all of this together because they are able to push people around and use one thing to get something else. Nobody wants to be called a racist, so you got to toe the line on the climate. And this is how cultural Marxism works. You tie in anything that you want to badger or bully somebody about, But this list of cities, I mean, and counties, it's as long as
the usual suspects to start.
Absolutely.
You know, Golden Valley, St. Louis Park, Duluth,
Eden Prairie.
Any stupid idea, you know, Bloomington, they're another one.
Northfield's in on it.
I mean, some would maybe surprise you, but
Albert Lee. Albert Lee. Another city that's not all that big, but it's...
Well, you'd be glad to know that there's unexpected benefits. This is one thing the League of Minnesota... There's unexpected benefits to this. Plans and visible evidence of a commitment to the environment have other benefits not initially anticipated. I didn't know they had any at all, but let's just say they have extra ones. Quote, the communities that do some planning now are the ones that are going to be in a better position to create jobs and harness the economic potential of a green economy, Redmond says. Who the hell's Redmond?
Matt Redmond?
Huh?
Matt Redmond?
Who's that?
Wasn't he a pitcher?
Wasn't he a catcher for the Twins?
Maybe he was a catcher. I thought he was a pitcher.
I don't know who Redmond is. Doesn't matter.
All right.
Le Croissant's environmental commitment was a draw for new residents. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they turned out saying, "Don't do it."
They all looked up who had a climate action plan before moving.
Right.
They didn't care about the house they were living in, or the school district, or where they worked, or the commute. Hey, you got a climate action plan? I ain't coming here if you don't.
Oh boy, best schools in the state. If you don't got a climate action plan, guys, no dice.
We're out of here.
We're out of here.
Cities needed focus. Listen to this. Yeah. Rather than gather dust in a digital file, these plans breed action. Abby Finus, Senior Program Manager with the Great Plains Institute, boy, wouldn't you love to have that title?
Yeah.
Has written several climate action plans for cities, and she says they give cities and citizens, quote, a sense of purpose and focus on what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. It gives cities, quote, leverage to move forward with some of these projects.
Well, we all know how important leverage is to these people.
Well, you got to have leverage, or else...
Got to twist arms.
What's the point? I mean, what's the point if you can't bully someone? You know. Northfield. Boy, they're out doing walls.
Wow.
Northfield chose 6 core areas, like those already cited, while setting by 2030.
2030.
Le Croissant's approach looked at what to do for businesses, residents, and electric vehicle expansion. So, a city of 5,000 people is going to have electric vehicle expansion.
Okay.
Here's how you do that. You want to know how you do that, Le Croissant? When there is demand and supply of electric cars, the private sector will do that themselves.
Yeah.
The government doesn't put up gas stations.
No, not yet.
Okay? The private sector sees the need for fuel, and they have put up fuel stations.
Yes.
So when everybody wants to buy an electric car in the year 3429,
Too soon for me.
The private sector will provide it because there's a profit to be made and there's customers to service.
Right.
You don't need electric vehicle expansion. If the supply and demand is not there, it's all for naught.
Right.
Oh, God. I want to say one more thing. Hang on.
Yes.
Let's say one more thing. Northfield.
Yes.
Beth Colleystadt
Huh.
is Northfield's, listen to this title, Sustainability Program Coordinator.
Oof.
Now, I know she beat you out for that, Jay.
Yeah, I didn't get my application in on time. I missed the cutoff for that by, I don't know. I guess I still have it. So,
Ouch. Very ouch, baby.
wow. So that's Climate Action Plan for Northfield is focused around 6 topic areas: energy, food, land use, materials and waste, and transportation and water. So they've got it all figured out, I guess. But we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, Northfield with 2 colleges there is bound to be as conservative as Duluth or anything else. So.
You know what? And again, I'm going to say this too. It ain't about being conservative or liberal. This is, again, why is it? Let me ask this question of you, Jay. Let me just back up.
Yeah.
Why is it that people who oppose these things or question these things cannot articulate opposition? You know,
Right.
when I sit there and I listen to somebody try to rebut Walz, okay,
Yeah.
what they ought to do, they ought to take a chart and show how every one of these things is going to either jack up your cost of living, affect your ability to go somewhere, affect your ability to sell your house, buy a car, whatever.
Yeah.
And instead, there's basically token opposition to this stuff.
Right.
So why is it that no one can do what we're doing, which is articulate how much this will change, whether that's your energy prices, point of sale, business licenses, loans, permits. I mean, I don't hear any of this from opposition.
No.
You know what? There is no opposition. Why don't I just say this straight out? There isn't any.
There's no political will to fight this stuff. I mean,
We got no new taxes.
You'll hear people spout off about, oh, climate change is this or that, but you don't have anybody that is able to make a reasoned argument, at least when it comes to specifically, against Walz or anything like that,
Walz has a free hand at this.
I mean, you have groups that address climate change in general, but yeah. It says on this website here for Northfield that Northfield City Council is to be commended for being one of 16 Minnesota cities to pass a resolution declaring a climate emergency last month.
Huh.
Last month. And they join over 2,000 jurisdictions internationally to have done so since 2016. So this is not some small little, oh, we don't need to worry about that. This is an international movement to try and put this stuff in. I mean,
but here comes, what is that? What's the benefit of declaring an emergency?
Well, because then you can bend the rules, Andrew, as we found out during COVID.
Right, but what rules? I mean, what's being bent right now? I mean, I don't know the answer, but okay, I declared something. Meaning what? I mean, what does that mean legislatively? What does that mean? The city doesn't have to pass ordinances. They don't have to pass, the mayor can do what they want. I mean, what's the consequences of passing a climate emergency? Why do you do it? Obviously, there's got to be a reason.
Right. Well, one, you look trendy.
Well, of course.
Second of all, yeah, I think that unfortunately, you have the ability to be able to say, in the name of this emergency, we're going to go ahead and we're going to push this through, and it could mean pushing through an ordinance or something like that. It could also mean, because it's an emergency, normally you don't handle our comprehensive plan once but every 10 years. Well, we need to redo it now because this new technology is out. We need to do this to capture the CO2 or to reduce the emissions. And there's a new trend. We need to incorporate that into our plans, and as we've seen, I mean, they take every opportunity to start putting this stuff in the moment that it starts to become trendy.
Yeah, the initiative is part of the Minnesota City's Climate Caucus. God, there's a group for everything pushing crap. Members hope that resolutions will add pressure on state lawmakers to do more to reduce emissions, such as updating the state building code, which, while also motivating staff, do the same thing through more aggressive action. A suburban city council member, Larry Kraft of St. Louis Park. Hey, he formed the caucus. So once again, a council member goes and forms another Great Plains Institute and helped him out. This is energynews.us. Minnesota cities hope climate emergency resolutions add urgency to responses. We want to make sure the legislature and the executive branch are looking at things through a climate lens as they make investments in this critical time, said Kraft. Yeah, it talks about 2,000 government units and 34 countries have passed. And it goes on to talk about St. Paul. What happened in Minneapolis? Rebecca Knocker in there? Knocker in that? No?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Duluth, they hired the Great Plains Institute. Hey, well, yippee. So this resolution seems to be, they passed one in April of 2021. Reduce carbon emissions by 80% by 2050.
It's funny how the same numbers keep popping up everywhere.
What's with the year of 2050?
I don't know. But it's not a mistake that 2050 keeps popping up everywhere, obviously. Well, we know. I mean,
it's not even a presidential year.
No, but if you look at, the Biden administration put out 30 by 30 and 50 by 50, where they want to have 30% of the land in their ownership by the year 2030, 50% by 2050. A lot of the federal government's climate change initiatives are set, by 2050. Some of them are earlier. When you look at electric cars and things like that, that's 2030. But a lot of the longer range things are 2050 for their goals as well. So you have the federal government, again, laying the groundwork, telling you this is what they want to accomplish. And then you have the states and you have the counties and you have the cities all getting caught up in the undertow. I mean, they're using the same.
About 2050. Now, I mean, look, most of the people passing this stuff will be dead by 2050. I mean, what are their, how old will I be if I'm still 73? I mean, what's the, I mean, I'm just kind of lost as to, what the point is of that year. I mean, it's so far off.
Yeah.
That I mean, and I'll tell you what, government owning land, that's a huge issue going on too. Because the more government declares off limits, the less land we have.
Right. And
it forces us into higher density, to be controlled. And that's scary too. I mean, that's really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be in this high density crap.
I don't either. I am a proud homeowner. I hope I get to stay in my home until I'm too old to be able to take care of it. And then
you still won't move.
And I still won't move. That's right. It's like I've said, when I pass away, just put me in the passenger seat of a car and push me out in a ditch somewhere. The bears and wolves will take care of me.
I just want to be on a dock. Just push me on a dock. Well, I'll watch one more sunset, get eaten by a few more mosquitoes, and I can go out like that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I just think I don't want to be laying hooked up to a machine somewhere. I want to be gone. That's just all I ask. The only thing anybody needs to do for me. I don't know. I mean, this climate stuff is just unavoidable. I mean, and then you add what corporations are doing on top of it. I mean,
I know.
They're going
right along with it,
crazy on it.
And this goes back to the Great Reset. I mean, I know we keep bringing
but
this
it was
up,
going on before that, too. It's accelerated.
It was, but this has accelerated it because now they're all on board together. You have the big banks that are going to refuse to lend for businesses that refuse to toe the line environmentally, and you're going to
racially,
and these companies are going to have to. They're getting forced into it. I mean, we see it everywhere. How many companies don't have some sort of a climate plan or some sort of green initiative or I'm trying to remember,
or an equity action or something like that.
There's a roofing company that they were sitting down with some people that I work with, and I went and looked, and it's a bigger roofing company that's based out of Canada, and they bought out a local one here. What's that? Yeah. And you go to their webpage, and of course they have a climate plan. The picture that they took.
Climate plan as in how to make a good roof so that it doesn't get beat up by the weather or something like that. That kind of climate plan?
No, not that at all. But how to use things that are environmentally friendly and this and that.
Okay, I don't have a big problem with that because, again, I don't have a company of a problem. I'm selling a product, and part of their pitch can be, hey, this uses less, whatever. I don't have a problem with that as much, unless they're being forced to do it,
right?
Because they can't get a load if they don't,
right? Am
I off base here with what you're trying to say?
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to say just they're using environmentally friendly products. That's okay. Mm-hmm. But it's when they jump on the bandwagon and they think that they're doing something to help climate change because they're using 10% less nickel in their nails. I don't know. It's stupid stuff like that. It's Huntington. We brought that up earlier. You go out to their webpage, and one of the main pictures that you can find on their website when you look up ESG goals and stuff like that. Of course, they have an ESG plan. They have this picture of 4, I think, people walking through the parking lot, and next to it is some sort of like little artsy-fartsy windmill kind of thing, or
probably something they funded.
Or no, it was solar. It was a solar panel that is like elevated, and it's all artsy and whatever. And of course, you have to have 2 women and 2 men in the picture, and they all look like they're friends, and they have to be of different races and
transgender, gender fluid.
It's just
somebody identifying as a woman today,
trying so hard to be hip, and it's like, ugh, come on.
You know what I love?
Just be normal.
Can I just say this? I love a TV show. There needs to be like a 2022 version of All in the Family.
That would never hit the air today.
I think it would. I think it'd be the #1 hit in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have shows on with murderers and with any kind of show, but we can't have a show like All in the Family.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think I'm going to create a TV. There's going to be no gays. There's going to be no trans people. There's going to be no token black guy. There's going to be none of that stuff. We're going to create a show just like that.
Yeah.
Where we talk, we openly talk, and we don't care what people think of it.
Yeah.
And we talk about this stuff like Archie Bunkers. You bringing in more of this liberal crap? That's what we say. Bring in more of this climate crap? I mean, come on, why not? I think it would be the number one show in the country.
It might be.
By far. I think it would crush any show. Because there's such a yearning. You can't see this. You can't turn on the TV without this stuff in your face.
Right.
Everywhere.
Yep.
And climate stuff, trans agenda, all that crap. It's all, you cannot avoid it.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I mean, I think it's going to be great. It's just going to be great. In fact, the hell with podcasting. We ought to just go create this show.
Yeah, I don't know what station would run it, but
Wait a minute, but you don't got none of that though, because you got Flixnet and you've got all these other places. You got all these outlets for things like this.
yeah.
So you don't have to go to the when there was an oligarchy of people who said yes or no to everything. So I mean, you'd get somebody to do it.
Maybe.
Okay, I
I don't
doubt
know.
it.
A lot of these streaming stations are just as liberal as the network. So
Well, they're just in favor of censorship.
Yeah.
Again, forget the left or right. It's the censorship.
right. So we said a lot of stuff during this podcast. What is the answer? I mean, what do we do? What's the solution for everybody so they can take this and do something with it?
Oh, there is no solution, Jay. We have
Wow.
to abide by it.
Yeah. Do we? I don't think we do. I never accept that as an answer.
Well, I think the solution, as we've said for a million times on these shows, is you got to pay attention to who's running your city, who's running your county, who's running your school district, and get people in office who are skeptics. Get
Yeah.
people in office who are not trendy. They're not part of the jumping on the train. Sometimes those people are few and far between. So show up to these meetings, and you got to write, and you got to do a podcast, and you got to write letters to the editor.
yeah.
I mean, this stuff can be defeated.
I think also trying to find city planners that don't buy into this stuff.
That's hard because they're a club.
I know.
I mean, they know what to say to get the job. They know where to get the money to bring it in. And it's not necessarily their fault. They're doing what they were taught to do.
Right.
It's their fault for not thinking for themselves, but it's, and again, understanding that it is supposed to work where the power should not rest so much with employees.
Right.
That's another problem we have. The government backwards, where the employees are telling the councils what to do. And that is not how our government's supposed to work.
Yes. But that's the way they work.
I hate everything.
There's no executive branch other than hired employees, and they are the ones that tell
Well, they have a job to do.
Yeah.
But the job is not to lead the councils. It's the council's job to lead them. And I think that's, again, where we've gotten way off track.
Yes.
Way off track.
Yep, we have. It's good news, huh? Another
So we get a video pulled from YouTube.
happy show.
We have to. I get 2 disclaimers put on me.
Yeah.
We talk about this BS. We talk about cryptocurrency or all this other crap, digital, whatever it is. I don't know.
I got a couple history questions, right?
Yeah, you did okay this time. I think I'll give you you got about 50% today.
That's
I mean, you
good.
didn't get anything 100%, but well, I can't say that because you did technically you answered the Zachary Taylor question correctly.
Yeah.
That was the day he was inaugurated, but
Yes.
I wasn't
That's not what you were
100% what I was looking for. So, it's kind of like you ever see that episode of Cheers where Cliff is on Jeopardy?
Yes.
And remember the final question, and he answered 3 people who've never had dinner at my house or something like that.
That's right.
And he went nuts. They say, "Nammy," out in the crowd. It's true. they've never had dinner in my house. Or whatever the Boston act can't really do it unless I say shopping cat. It was, and he lost perfect guy from by the way, I got to say one thing about Cheers. Did I ever tell the story to you about how he got that part?
Yeah, I think you did.
That he tried out for Norm.
Yeah.
And talked to producers and do you have a bar know-it-all? They're like, no. Oh, every bar's got a know-it-all. That's just a annoying blah, blah, blah. So he talked himself onto the show as Cliff the mailman.
That's really good.
Yeah. But that takes some work, man, to get turned down for a role and talk your way into another one.
That didn't exist.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jay, it's been a crappy show here. We did well, but overall it sucked for what we had to talk about. We need you today. We've got to have you here.
Yeah, I'm here.
I know, but the words of wisdom, the inspiration, and all that stuff.
All right.
Community Solutions once again with the sign-off sermon presents jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing son of a gun. All around good guy most of the time.
I have my moments.
Salad eating, guitar playing. Jason Bradley for your enjoyment.
Thank you, Andrew. It's true. I do eat salads. They're always chef salads. And, they look more like a cheeseburger, but they got plenty of vegetables.
When do they put French fries on a salad?
Oh, goodness. Lord gave you taste buds for a reason, you know what I mean? So you can't, I never understood all those people that you got to try this. It's got seaweed and no, I'm not interested in seaweed.
You talk
about on a rice cake.
You talk about zero carbon. That's getting us to zero taste. Get us all to zero taste by 2050.
Yeah. Oh, you just wait.
Don't give me the ideas. Hey, you're supposed to bring us up here.
They already want to make meat a luxury, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, boy.
You're going to win the lottery.
It'd be like the Hunger Games outside the city.
Hey, you're going to have a cow in the front yard.
Yeah, well, maybe. I could
Moo.
do that. All right. What am I going to say to possibly bring us up from that? Well, we are up against a wall. It's true, and it's our own fault because we have let this stuff go for so long. And part of it's not our fault because we really didn't know what they were up to, and we didn't think that they would actually follow through on some of this stuff either. They're just blowing smoke, or they're saying something because they want to get something else, but no, I think it's pretty clear that everything that they've said they wanted to do, they're trying to make happen. And so they're not going to rest until it's done or until we've put them in their place. And even then, they'll go underground, they'll retool, they'll rename things, and it will surface as some other ugly boil somewhere on the face of the earth. And we're going to have to beat it all down again. We're in a position here. We see what's happening in our schools. We see what's happening in our cities. We see what's happening in our counties, in our states, in this nation, around the world. And how it seems like some of this stuff is on the fast train to completion. Like there's no slowing it down. Like we can't ever get a hold of all of this. And every time we think that we start learning enough about something to push back on it, something else pops up. It's like that whack-a-mole game where you hit that one and something else comes up and you hit that one and try to hit that one and it just sits and laughs at you. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They have made this so complicated and so vast and so deep that it is hard for us to get a handle on it and to push it back and to keep holding it back. And part of that is because there's not enough of us to do it. We need more voices. people who will laugh in the face of getting a video taken down off of YouTube. People who laugh in the face of mayors that call them conspiracy theorists and tell them to go move to the middle of nowhere. We'll laugh at that kind of stuff because we've got the resiliency. We know that we're getting under their skin. We know that the word's getting out there. We know that things are coming to life that were previously asleep. The hibernation is coming to a close, and we need numbers now. We need numbers to fill city halls, not just from an elected point of view, but also from a constituent point of view, to be able to bring things up. We need to see what was happening in Loudoun County School Board to happen in all of this, the county board, school board, and city council chambers all across this country. And we need people who are going to stand up and run for these things, and that they're going to be able to grab hold of this opportunity and not let go. That no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much the government pushes back on us, no matter how much the businesses threaten to take away our ability to buy and sell or to get loans or any of that, that we stay true. That we keep our head pointed in the right direction with our eyes on the goal. Because let me tell you, if they get their way and they win, it's all over. It's never coming back. And we have to be able to say that we are willing to stand guard no matter the cost. We have a country that needs us right now. America's greatest generation back in World War II, we have something here in our own shores, in the vast expanse of our country that we need to defend against. And we need people with that same heart, that same mindset to stand up and to start making changes. People who are willing to sacrifice what they've always wanted to make sure that their children will have something of value left. And I'm sorry. I know all of us have had hopes and dreams and things that we've wanted to do. But, you know, there was a thought that, you know, when people came to America, that they would do certain jobs, blue-collar jobs and, you know, construction and things like that, so that their kids could grow up to be artists. And I mean, that's where we're at now. The country is calling us into a place. We need people to step into government. We need people to step into the roles of holding government, blogs and podcasts and rallies and all of these things that call attention to the issues, and that we have people that will provide the facts, and that we have people that, attorneys that care enough about the state of being able to, you know, put somebody in jail that has done something wrong and keep them there, rather than having them turned back out into the streets by some radical district attorney or county attorney that just wants to make the rules up and do things that continually harm those of us that are trying to just live in peace. So, what are we going to do? How are we going to change what we see happening? It is not going to come overnight. And it is not going to come without a cost. So we're going to have to realize this. And we're going to have to stand up. We're going to have to point people in the direction of the truth, whether that's sharing this podcast and helping people find out about this stuff, or whether it's helping people to learn how to stand and in their own communities. We can do this. And it's not going to be where we just get run over if we're willing to stand up now. We will be able to stand, and we will be able to tell those who do not have our best interest at heart, that we do not agree and we're not willing to go along. This cannot happen, but we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you. Hey, part of what we do besides this podcast is coaching people on how to start a blog, on how to start a podcast, on how to run for office. We do plans, campaign plans for people that show them how to get from point A to point Z and everything along the way. And then we stay with you and we help you out. We answer your questions. And I can tell you this, that we are going to pick up seats this year. Are you going to be one of them? That's the question. You get a hold of us at COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That's COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. And we're going to make some waves. We're going to change some things. We're going to take care of business. And then we will look back on all that we have accomplished one day and be able to say it was all worth it. We love you guys. But now it's your turn to get to work.
Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught up